So for exponent rules. So we're going to go through all of the rules for exponents. And I'm going to make this little chart, and I'm going to have the rule on one side. And I'm going to have an example on the other side. Okay? So the rule on one side, the example on the other side. Just like that in that little chart. So the first rule is for multiplication. Okay. So multiplication with exponents. Whenever you have multiplication, you add. So multiplication means addition with exponents. So the rule says that x to the m times x to the n is going to equal x to the m plus n, because you're adding here. So as an example, x to the 3 times x to the 4, we're just going to add those, x to the 3 plus 4, which will be x to the 7th. Okay. Multiplication's pretty easy. All you're doing is adding. So the next rule is for division. So division goes with, well, let's think about this for a minute. Multiplication goes with addition. So we think division goes with subtraction, exactly. So that would look like x to the m over x to the n. And you would subtract those. X to the m minus n. As for our example, we'll do x to the 7th over x to the 5th. And that means we'll subtract x to the 7 minus 5, which would equal x squared. Okay. The next rule is for power. And when you raise something to a power, you are going to multiply. So what that would look like would be x to the m raised to the n. That's the power rule. You raise something to a power. And that would be x to the m times n. So for example, we'll do x to the third raised to the fourth, and that would equal x to the 3 times 4, which equals x to the 12th. Next, we'll talk about the 0 power. For the 0 power, anything raised to the 0 equals 1. So that would just be x to the 0 equals 1. Or 146 to the 0 equals 1. Or 654 to the 0 equals 1. You could put any number there to the 0 and equals 1. You could put any letter there to the 0 equals 1. Okay? And then the last rule that we're going to talk about is negative exponents. With negative exponents, you flip and you make it positive. And this one's probably the most complicated for students to understand. But if we have x to the negative m, we're going to take that, flip it, and make it positive. So the x to the m goes in the denominator, that's it being flipped, and that m becomes a positive instead of a negative. So we have this negative, it becomes a positive in the denominator. So for an example, let's do x to the negative 7th. That would just be 1 over x to the 7th. You flip it and you make it positive. Or 1 over x to the negative 5th. That one's a little trickier, right? Because that negative is in the denominator this time. But you still follow the same rule. You're going to flip it and make it positive. So now it's a positive x to the 5th over 1 over just x to the 5th. It's the same thing.